Today's your name is Uranus, knocking on your bank account's door, and the strange part is, two completely different measuring systems are staring at the moon right now and seeing it in two different signs entirely. If you are a Taurus, that split is not trivia. It is the whole story of your day. There is a version of today that most horoscopes will describe as ordinary. It is not. Somewhere between the numbers on your banking app and the quiet tension in your chest about a purchase you have not made yet, something bigger is moving. The sky is not asking you to sit still today. It is asking you to notice exactly where stillness has already worn out its welcome. The bigger picture. Start with the planet most Taurus natives underestimate. Uranus, the sky's resident disruptor, currently pressing against your financial and material world. This is a slow-building transit, and its signature move is pressure that builds quietly until it does not feel quiet anymore. You may reach a point where the lack of movement in your finances or living situation becomes genuinely intolerable, and something in you pushes back. Uranus rarely announces itself. The people around you are often more surprised by your sudden shift than you are. Layer onto that a faster-moving signal. In Western tropical astrology, today's moon has entered Gemini and is transiting your second house, the house of resources, income, and personal values. That is a very different texture than Uranus. Where Uranus is the slow-burning pressure cooker, the Gemini moon is quick, mentally restless, comparison-driven. It has you weighing options, second-guessing a purchase, noticing small leaks in your spending you had not clocked before. Here is where it gets genuinely interesting. In Vedic, Sidereal astrology, which calculates the zodiac roughly 24 degrees differently than the Western tropical system, the moon is still sitting comfortably in Taurus itself. Two respected traditions, looking at the exact same sky, describing two different emotional weathers for you today. The Western lens sees quick, restless money-mind energy. The Vedic lens sees something steadier. A Taurus moon inclined toward generosity, warmth, and emotional expansion. Both are correct. Neither cancels the other out. That is the real texture of today, a pull between fast, calculating energy and slow, generous energy, both showing up in the same 24 hours. And then there is the moment when these two speeds collide directly. The moon and disruptive Uranus are meeting in your money house today, which is a distinct, short-lived alignment on top of everything else. When the moon, your emotional impulse, links up with Uranus, your urge to break a pattern, the temptation toward a spontaneous purchase gets loud. Not dangerous, just loud. Love. You may have noticed that honesty feels slightly more urgent than usual right now, almost uncomfortably so. If there is something you have been sitting on with a partner, a small omission, a truth you have been softening, today's energy does not punish you for it, but it does make the silence harder to carry. Many people under this kind of emotional pressure report a genuine relief once they finally say the thing out loud. There is also a gentler undercurrent here. That same restless, comparison-minded moon is forming an easy connection with Venus, your own ruling planet, which tends to smooth over disagreements rather than sharpen them. If you and someone else are weighing a purchase together, a date, a gift, a shared plan, this is a favorable window for actually saying the number out loud before anyone commits. You might privately want the nicer option and feel awkward admitting your real limit. Naming the range first, before excitement takes over, tends to protect the whole exchange from turning into quiet resentment later. A simple shared coffee, chosen honestly, often lands better than an expensive gesture chosen out of pressure. Affection does not need financial acrobatics to feel real today. Career. That same discomfort with stagnation shows up at work too. And this is where the bigger picture from earlier starts to pay off. If you have felt boxed in professionally, or like your current position has stopped rewarding your effort. The disruptive energy pressing on your resources may be quietly pointing you toward a pivot rather than a breakdown. Many people experiencing this kind of pattern find it correlates with an unplanned opportunity, a freelance offer, or a side venture that seems to appear almost out of nowhere. If you work specifically in finance or economics, today may feel unusually taxing, mentally and emotionally. That is not a coincidence given everything swirling through your money sector right now. Taking genuine, short breaks, stepping away from the screen, breathing, resetting is not indulgent today. It is structural maintenance. Push through without pausing, and the pressure tends to compound rather than resolve. Money. This is really where today's whole story concentrates. The comparison-driven mental energy from earlier wants you evaluating every purchase, every subscription, every recurring cost you have stopped noticing. That instinct is useful, within reason. Check the actual number. Ask one practical question about whether something genuinely serves your comfort, then move on. The goal is not paranoia about every transaction, it is clarity, not spiraling. But here is what almost every generic horoscope misses about today specifically. The Moon-Uranus meeting in your resource house creates a real pull toward impulsive spending, the kind that feels emotionally justified in the moment and questionable the next morning. Treating yourself occasionally is fine. Duplicating what is already sitting in your closet, 3 purchases deep into a spiral, is where the pattern turns costly. Quite literally, before you tap pay. The relieving part of this same alignment is that its disruptive energy does not only threaten your budget, it can just as easily open one. If you have been sitting on a freelance idea, a side project, or an unconventional income stream, today's unpredictable planetary weather tends to favor exactly that kind of maverick opportunity, provided you are willing to actually put in the effort behind it. And underneath all of it, several source traditions independently point towards stretch of financial luck arriving soon, particularly if you stay grounded rather than reactive through today's noise. Health. Here is what makes today genuinely rare for your sign. You are being asked to regulate your nervous system between 2 completely opposite emotional speeds in the same 24 hours, the fast, anxious calculation of one lunar placement, and the slow, generous warmth of another. Most people will not even register that tug-of-war happening inside them. You might. And recognizing it is most of the work. Physically, this tends to show up as a kind of buzzy tension, especially if you have been ignoring smaller signals about your body lately. Take that seriously today rather than pushing past it. If something feels off, do not wait for the discomfort to escalate before responding to it. Long-distance travel is best avoided if you can help it right now, less because of any strict rule and more because your system seems to be asking for stability rather than motion. On the emotional side, there is real medicine in generosity today. Some traditions frame this specifically through the Vedic Taurus moon, which favors small acts of kindness and helping people who genuinely need it. You do not need a grand gesture. A small, sincere act of help tends to circle back as goodwill and often as a straightforward mood lift you did not expect. Home and family. That generous undertone carries naturally into your home life too. If someone close to you needs support today, practical, emotional, even just your attention offering it tends to land well and cost you very little in return. This is not about performing kindness. It is about the quiet satisfaction of actually showing up for someone, which several traditions today independently point toward as unusually available to you. If there is tension at home tied to money, a shared expense, a disagreement about a purchase, the same clarity that serves your love life earlier in the day applies here too. Name the actual number. Skip the vague reassurance. Family conversations about resources tend to go more smoothly today when they are specific rather than emotional. Travel and spirit. If Uranus has been the loudest presence in your chart lately, there is a deeper question underneath its disruption worth sitting with. What would it actually feel like to be free of the financial or material pattern that has been pressing on you? That is not a rhetorical flourish. It is the real emotional core of this transit. Change under Uranus often looks like a door slamming before you fully register it opening. Practically speaking, Tay favors staying closer to home rather than long journeys, particularly given the physical tension mentioned earlier. But spiritually, this is a genuinely reflective window. Sitting with a question like a bridge you have not crossed yet visible, waiting, but not yet walked tends to be more useful today than forcing a decision. Some Vedic practitioners might frame today's generosity impulse as its own kind of spiritual practice, a small daily discipline rather than a one-time gesture. That framing, without any need for gemstones or elaborate remedies, is safe and genuinely available to everyone, regardless of individual chart details. Lucky signs. Tay's supportive color leans toward white, associated with clarity and calm rather than urgency. Your most favorable window for important decisions or conversations falls between 2:30 and 3:40 in the afternoon. If you have something meaningful to handle today, that stretch is worth protecting. Given the Gemini moon's easy connection to your ruler Venus, you may find conversations with quick-thinking, communicative people flow more naturally than usual, especially around anything involving money or shared plans. Tay's guidance. If there is one thing to carry out of today, it is this. Check the number before you decide, name the range before anyone commits, and give yourself permission to pause before any purchase that is driven by restlessness rather than actual need. Where generosity calls to you, follow it. It costs less than it feels like and tends to return more than expected. Where impulsive spending calls to you, sit with it for one extra breath before acting. And underneath all of it, that same quiet question from earlier deserves your attention. Somewhere in your financial or material world, a small pressure has been building for a while now. You do not need a dramatic answer to it today. You just need to stop pretending it is not there. That is the real shift available to you right now, and it is yours whenever you are ready to take it.